This is an old debate of the early Marx versus the later Marx, which has been quite well known in circles all over the world. So here, Mr. Sebastian Vattamattam is trying to reinterpret or expose the links of Hegelian Marxism. I think I would say, rather for easy shorthand type, Hegelian Marxist thinking, and as it finds its resonance in Lacan's social unconsciousness, the concept of social unconsciousness, and then leading up to Zizek more recently in terms of trying to use Christian theology, Marxism, and psychoanalysis into some kind of anti-global capitalist critique. So using these tools which have been developed in Western thought, and of course looking down from his own ground of in Kerala, Nigeria, wherever that his career has taken him, Sebastian Vattamattam is attempting or I think he's renewing an old debate in terms of how could Marx be of use in our contemporary times, when post-truth, we broadly discuss as post-truth, or with the Trump arrival, we have new kind of things like hyper-imperialism, thought of going back to the colonial imperialist period. So we are in a very flux situation now as we discuss this very important question. We are in the really, if to situate it in the present, we are in a very transitional phase. And very incidentally, today is the 135th birth anniversary of a great Marxist, Gramsci. So that's I found it rather very interesting that this is Gramsci's 135th birthday. So we are having this debate in terms of Marxism as it is, as Sebastian Vattamattam sees it through the lens of Lacan and Zizek. Your old professor Sebastian and work in psychoanalysis, in philosophy, and I would say theology, Christian theology, the three areas in which he specializes. He's a thinker, he is basically a teacher, and somebody who has been into the Western thought and Indian philosophy at the same time, trying to combine it into some kind of a new methodology. I think rather I would call it very eclectical, but all the same, trying to bring together Christian theology, psychoanalysis, Marxism, and ecological thinking. So, I mean, this is broadly, as I found him, he's a very cosmopolitan, eclectic thinker and writer and speaker who has done a lot of work on different fields. Especially, he's well known in Kerala and India, outside Kerala, for his exposition of the thoughts of Father Sebastian Vattamattam, a pioneering liberation theologist who kind of over the late 20th century, he was a very influential liberation theology priest who influenced not only the Marxist but also the Christian clergy. And so Sebastian Vattamattam related to him, and he has brought out his collected works in English. And I will surely say he is the one authority on Father Sebastian Vattamattam still in this country and outside. His latest book combines all these areas of interest. And here Mr. Sinha has selected for Marx Forum a particular aspect of that book as far as it relates to Marx. And in a way, he revives an old debate, which is a debate. I've been a Marxian fellow traveler for long, so that's my only qualification to be here. But then what I found, the basic thrust of this discussion, which is on subjectivity in Marx, and as perceived through the lens of Lacan and Zizek. That's what I think is the nutshell in a kind of very reductionist way to say that that abstract tells you what was lacking in Marx and what has been enriched by Lacan and Zizek in understanding Marx and applying it. I mean, in the struggle against global capitalism. So thank you so much, Sebastian, sir. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. You're waiting for your lecture.
I am very grateful to our Arunji and the team for giving me this chance to talk to you. Now, coming to the topic. It's not an easy task, to introduce Lacan and Zizek. My book, Elephants in a Sugarcane Field. The elephants, I mean Lacan and Zizek, already it is explained already here. And the sugarcane field, before reading this, for a long time before reading Lacan, I was a rationalist and a Marxist for a few years. I was a member of the CPIM also. But those days, about everything, I had clear-cut ideas. Then I started reading. Actually, it is Father Kapan who, prompted me to read Lacan. So I found Lacan and Zizek, later Zizek, trampling into that, sugarcane field of my mind, Then for a few years, I've been in a sort of encounter with them. And this research, first I wrote a book in Malayalam. Then this one, not exactly the translation. This is more, I have taken more freedom with these great thinkers. Now, Marx wrote his early writings and his book Grundrisse. These are the works in which he has, developed his philosophical perspectives. But these books were published only after the Russian Revolution. So actually, Marxism as we understand today developed in the absence of Marxian philosophy. Because these basic philosophical principles were not known while this Marxism was developing, Today, in the light of this Lacan and Zizek, we are in a better position to understand Marx and to reinterpret Marxism. The first is symbolic order. First of all, what is a symbol? See, we say our national flag is a symbol of the nation. What does it mean? We know it's only a piece of cloth. But if it is trampled or insulted, we feel pain. We feel badly affected. Why? Because in our unconscious, that flag itself is the nation. So that flag is not only a mere sign. It is the nation itself. The signifier is the signified. That is a symbol. Symbols are very important in our social life as well as individual life. Another example, of course, is cow. To many in India today, cow is the symbol of our nation. To those who believe it, the life of a cow is much more valuable than human life. See, so it depends on what we believe, They believe cow is the symbol of the nation. To them, life of a cow is much more important than human life. So this shows how important these symbols are in our life. Next is master signifiers. See, I shall explain everything with examples. That's what I've done in my book also. That's the only way, instead of defining anything, let me proceed with examples. See, a word very familiar to us, that is virginity. When do we say that a girl is a virgin? Before the first sexual act. After that, she loses something. But what is that? That is virginity. We don't know what it is, virginity. But that word, is very important in our society. Virginity is one of the pillars of male domination. So a word without specific meaning, but having great impact on the life of the people, both social and individual. Such a word is a master signifier. Then, myth. What is a myth? See, any story, any narrative, generally we can say narrative, even a church is a narrative. That is telling us so many things. When we see a church, you see, every visual is a narrative in that sense, So, the temple, Ram temple at Ayodhya, it has a lot of things to tell us. And many of those things are deeply rooted in our mind, From Rama, Ramayana, Ravana, war, so many things, you see. That image is rooted in our mind. Today, but that temple, it evokes devotion in the minds of many people, the Ram temple. At the same time, it evokes fear and anxiety about our country. So myths are such deep-rooted narratives and images are called myths. Myths are also very important in our social life. Then, where do these, before that, let me tell you a little about, more about the conscious and unconscious, conscious mind and the unconscious. See, of course, all of you must be familiar with Freud's idea. There, this conscious and unconscious, they are sort of separated, like, the upper floor and the lower floor, like that, But in Lacan, when we come to Lacan, look at this figure. A strip of paper bent in a particular way. Oh, you cannot see. Okay. Here, you cannot be sure whether it has only one surface or two surfaces. Nobody can say. In one perspective, you can see it has only one surface. But in another perspective, it has two surfaces. Such a thing, this is a topological, space picture, and he uses so many things for explaining this. So when we say about the unconscious, we may feel it is something within us, but symbolic order is a part of the unconscious, and it is not within us. We are within that. Symbolic order is the realm of all the myths, symbols, metaphors, metonyms, and other all narratives that influence us, and power images like father. Father is the first authority who comes to our life. Father image. So symbolic order is the realm of all this. Then it is this symbolic order within which I live. It is that which tell me who I am. If I am a carpenter, when I am doing something, my self-awareness is that of a carpenter. That is my ego. So ego is, Lacanian ego is quite different from Freudian ego. It's not something permanent, Next time, if I work in the field, I am a farmer. My ego is that of a farmer. And another important thing is subjectivity. That's not a simple thing, but we shall come to that later with more examples, and you see. Now, so we live within this symbolic order containing all the power images and all that, but we are not completely controlled by the big other. Lacan calls it the big other also. We are not controlled completely by that. There is our imagination. Suppose there is a very powerful God, in the concept of God in my mind, who prevents me from all persuasion of perceiving any pleasure, you see. Many of my pleasures I will let it depress, so suppress. This suppression I can overcome with my imagination, finding substitutes. So imagination is very important. The realm of the imagination, that is the imaginary, another sphere, another field, the imaginary. Then we come to another thing. See, on the one side, the big other, the symbolic order, that is drawing us towards the existing norms and values. Okay? I am a drinker, not a drunkard. No. So we all have this craving for perfection. We want to be always perfect, perfectly secure, perfect beauty, perfect pleasure. All these together, you see, is what Lacan calls jouissance. Complete, perfect, security, pleasure, and all that, you see. And this thing, Freud traces this back to our life in the womb of the mother. That life in the water, in the womb of the mother, when we were perfectly secure, very happy. So the memory of that remains in our mind. And that is jouissance, and that is a force that draws us to always to be better, to do better. At the individual level, as well as the social level, we want always to be better than what we are. This is Heidegger defines morality as the desire to be what we ought to be. That ought to be dimension, you see. That is taken from this idea. So this is jouissance, something that is always pushing you, ahead to perfection. That is jouissance. And the desire for that jouissance is there in every human mind, and that is the driving force of our life. Now, this jouissance, of course, even that word is not translated into English. It is used like that only. Jouissance, it's a French word. This jouissance is something we cannot explain in words. That perfect, sort of being. That we cannot explain in words. It is beyond words, unutterable. Such a thing is called the real. It is in the real, we say, the realm of all those things which are beyond language. That realm is called the real. Another example is the experience of death. Who can explain? The experience of death. That is in the real. We cannot explain that. So our unconscious structure, see, is these three realms, you see, the symbolic order, the imaginary, and the real. These two together, they represent our unconscious structure. These three circles, the real, the symbolic, and the imaginary. Then, this is the structure of human unconscious. So we have seen that we all humans are living between two forces. One is the sort of conservative force of the symbolic order. The other is the jouissance. It is in the real. It cannot be explained. So that is because of this sort of, we are always pulled to opposite directions. There's a rupture in our subjectivity. Subjectivity is something that is revealed through what we do. So whenever I do something, what is to be done? That uncertainty is there because two opposite forces are there in it. The freedom of choice, but it's a very precarious thing for me. Subjectivity, which is very important, that is the central point, of Marx also. You are coming to subjectivity. The problem is how to introduce it in a simple way. Now, this subjectivity is something always with a ruptured, because always being pulled to opposite directions, you see. Because of that, subjectivity, Lacan denotes like this. Yes, a capital S with a bar. Barred S. That is subjectivity. He denotes subjectivity. Now, let us come to Zizek. So far we were talking about Lacan. Come to Zizek. Zizek built up his whole philosophy mainly on Lacanian psychoanalysis. Now, see, look at that structure of our unconscious. There, the symbolic order and the real, two forces, these two are very important. Our social structure also has quite not only similar, related to this. In a caste society, all the symbols of power, myths, master signifiers of that whole society, all these are of the upper caste people. So the life of the other people, the excluded people, low caste people, their life is not at all represented in the symbolic order, in our textbooks, in our, power structures. They are absent. So a society is divided into two, to use Gramscian term, hegemonic. The hegemonic part of the society. So today, Gramsci's day. I remember once I gave a talk on Gramsci also in this. So the hegemonic class maintains its domination with the full support of the big other, the symbolic order. And the other, subordinate classes, they are prevented any presence in the symbolic order. They have no history, no temples. Go and look around. So many churches, temples and all that. How many temples are there of the Pulayas or Parayas? They are, visual narratives, you see. Temples, etc. are visual narratives. So in the symbolic order, they are absent. Their symbols are absent. Their myths are absent. So they are excluded people in the real. So the society is divided into this dominant class that is represented by the symbolic order and the excluded people, that is the real of the society. Their real life experiences are not represented in the symbolic order. Then, and what about the imaginary? Symbolic and the real. What about the imaginary? It is there that, it is the realm of the space of hope, struggle, and transformation. All, revolutionary activities, all these take place in the imaginary. Because we want to be a better society, like that, Now, coming to subjectivity. See, this is something that, the traditional Marxists failed to understand, subjectivity and its importance in our life, you see. But Marx understood it much earlier. In his early writings, he writes, a man is a king only because other men stand in the relation of subjects, prajas, subjects, in that sense, to the king. That is, a man can have the feeling of a Raja. Only he is accepted. He can earn the faith of the people, of the prajas. It is the understanding and acceptance and the faith of the prajas that make him Raja. So subjectivity is not something inherent in us. It is relational. Similarly, the prajas can feel like prajas only if the king, the Raja, accept them like that, treat them like that. If he treats them like slaves, they cannot have the feeling of prajas. So what we call subjectivity is relational. That is the very important idea that we usually fail to understand, you see. This is Marxian idea, Marxian idea. This means what? Power or authority, this depends on belief of the people. See, if Trump can do all such funny things, you see, because he has gained somehow so much belief of at least a part of the society. Otherwise, it's not possible. If the belief of the people is lost, any power structure will fall down, like what is happening now in Iran. So, this importance of the relation between authority and belief, this makes the cultural action, cultural praxis all the more important. Now let us come to a very important idea, that is materialism. See, in the days of Marx, two classes of philosophy. One was materialism, crude materialism. Everything in the universe is matter, including humans, and we are all acting according to the laws of nature. But in the early writings, Marx writes, today he speaks about the dangers of these two, both crude materialism and idealism. Idealism totally rejects the subjectivity of humans, and everything takes place because of some superhuman power, some idea, like, He is against both this. He doesn't say, he is not asking us to reject any of these. What he wants is a dialectical synthesis of both idealism and materialism. And that synthesis he calls naturalism or humanism. This was his position. And actually, for him, yeah, he also uses the word material many times. He means always by material the social and historical life of the people. What he means is history, there is no outside intervention. It is humans who create history. We humans act in nature, transform the nature, and get transformed by nature. And this dialectical process between humans and nature, that is history. So this man-human nature relationship, that is for him material, in the sense that it is not controlled by any supernatural power. So the materialism, that is historical materialism, is this, what I explained just now. But today, usually Marxists, for them, Marxism is dialectical materialism. They forget about historical materialism. Actually, we can say it is historical materialism, but never dialectical materialism. Next very important point is, see, God, especially we Indians, for Indians, you see, it's a very important thing. God is a word that we usually try to avoid in our intellectual discussions. We are afraid of that. Why it is we are afraid? Because that word God is a very powerful master signifier. See, when I was a rationalist, actually I hated this word God. But always, you see, it was lingering in my mind, you see. God. Lingering in my mind as something that has to be thrown out. So it was haunting me. God, when I was an atheist, God was haunting me. That word was haunting me. Why? Today, I believe that this power of the word God as a master signifier is there because it points to the possibility of the impossible jouissance. Jouissance is the driving force. The desire for jouissance is the driving force. It is impossible, we know. But God somehow sort of draws us to that, Make us believe that it is possible, at least after death. After death, you see. So God is a very powerful master signifier, that single word, I mean. But what happens is, that word is given different meanings, creating hundreds of God concepts of God. And each concept of God divides the people, make them fight each other. That is the biggest problem in India. Marxism has failed to address this serious issue because Marxists could not understand this basic idea that this word is a master signifier, its importance. What about these God concepts? Are they all similar? Are they all harmless? No. See, a God who claims that he is the only God, sort of militant monotheism, God of the militant monotheism. That's a fascist God. That's what Hitler said. I am the only Führer, leader. It's a fascist concept of God. Another God concept that is, brought up now, very powerfully, and Rama is made that. That is a God who created all the people into different hierarchical groups. By birth, they are in a particular caste, that hierarchical structure. What sort of God is that? His own people, he is dividing into hierarchical groups. That's the God of the casteism, caste ideology. But these are not the only God concepts. I don't know whether I will get time. So actually, I have mentioned about that many times now, about that Paraya concept of God. In Paraya folklore, we can see a God who can be pleased and who can even appear to us only when there's a third deshamanam. That is, different places, different deshams, you see, they join together, all love each other, and there is perfect harmony in the world. Then only God can even reveal himself. That sort of a God is, who can oppose that God? And Father Kappan's, of course, idea of the divine. He, towards the end of his life, he, just left out that word God, and instead of that, he was using the divine. Something that challenges us for change, like that sort of God. So, now let us come to, now we are in global capitalism. The world system is global capitalism. And in this global capitalism, before this, all over the world, humans were thirsting for jouissance, that perfectness, perfection, in everything, pleasure, everything we wanted perfection. Today, that jouissance has reduced it to consumption. We want to consume. We don't want any other pleasure. We want to consume. The jouissance is reduced to consumption. And the God who was supposed to lead us to jouissance, you see, that is replaced by market. Market will give you all that you want to consume. So today, at the global level, market is the God. Now, in the Bible, you can see Yahweh divides all the people into two groups, his chosen people and the excluded people. In the Bible, you can see. Similarly, today, global capitalism is dividing all humanity into two. The chosen, those who are protected by global capitalism. And it's a Trump. Trump has become a metaphor for global capitalism. And who are the excluded? See, I think, yeah, when Trump came to Delhi, you remember, say, the slums in Delhi were, covered, with the fence and all that, so that Trump will not the outside people, the thrown out people. That is the real of the society, as he says. So, these chosen people of global capitalism, they are the symbolic order, corresponding to the symbolic order. And the thrown out people, that is the real of the world global community, the real, those who are thrown out. Migrants, colonies, those who are, and Adivasis, of course, Adivasis. Now, in the Indian situation, we can see a large majority of these people, the thrown out people, are Dalits and Adivasis. That's very important in the Indian context. So, when we come to their problem, they can, rise up, emerge as a fighting force only if they can regain their subjectivity, the very important it is, you see. But their subjectivity is totally trampled by not only the rightists, by the leftists also. That's another thing is, we are coming to what is communism. See, what is truth? Truth, what is truth? See, it is not objective knowledge. The earth moves around the sun. It is an objective truth, scientific fact. It's a fact. But we don't say we believe in it. Because but we believe that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. That is a truth for us. Truths are much more important than objective facts. See, suppose you learn a lot about communism. You have objective knowledge from capital and all that, you know what communism is. That doesn't make you a communist. To become a communist, communism must become a truth for you. And you must have faith in it. You must have commitment in that. So communist, in anything, if you are committed, if it is a truth for you, you cannot but act for that. You have to act for communism. That means there are different possibilities for you. How to act for a new society. There are different possibilities. There is the freedom of choice that makes us very anxious. Those who have read Kierkegaard can easily remember, this is Kierkegaardian, the famous philosopher Kierkegaard, Soren Kierkegaard, who said, freedom always creates anxiety. And to overcome this, the only way is a leap of faith. So once you are convinced that this is communism or whatever it be, this is true, I am committed to this, then take the action like a leap of faith suggested by Kierkegaard. This leap of faith, will totally change your life. It will become an event. Alan Badiou's idea is used here. Alan Badiou, a very famous philosopher still alive. His book is the Event and Time. So event is very important for him, like short circuiting it is, every event. Every leap of faith is an event. So, another thing is, so what is social reality? The world of all this faith, and narratives that we accept, that is social reality. See, in our society, see, carpenter. Suppose, see, I may think I am a carpenter. When I am doing a work, I am a carpenter, no problem. But when I am engaged in that work, many narratives about that job, about that particular group of people, caste of people, Vishwakarma, who designs all the tools, all these come to my mind. That determines my subjectivity. So, that world of beliefs and truths that we believe, that is social reality. That is Sugarcane term. Then a very important idea in Zizek, his first book was The Sublime Object of Ideology. What is ideology? Of course, ideology usually we mean by ideology a faith, a system of faith, Christian ideology, Hindu ideology. Or in Marxism, it is false consciousness about the social realities. And to Lacan, it is different. He explains that with an example. A man, mentally he is sick. He believes that he himself is a grain of corn. He is a grain of corn. And he is afraid of chickens or birds in general. He thinks they will come and eat him. Now he is treated, finally he believes that he knows that he is a human being. He goes home, but after a while he comes back and tells the doctor, "Doctor, see, on the way I saw a cock. I was frightened. I ran away." The doctor asked him, "What happened? You know you are a human being." He said, "Yes, that is true. I know I am a man. But that cock need not know that. I know I have changed. I am not a corn, grain of corn. But how can that cock know that? To him, I may still be a grain of corn." That is the point. Similarly, see, suppose I claim to be free from any caste consciousness. Completely I am against caste. At the conscious level, I am so. I write about against caste and I speak against caste, but in my personal dealings, unknowingly, caste comes to that. Caste is there in my mind as that cock, that caste who doesn't know me properly. That caste within me doesn't know that I am a rationalist, progressive, and all that. So this unconscious influence on our life, that is ideology for Zizek. Then this word development, what is it? It means many things to many people. But without any specific meaning, it has become at the global level an object of ideology. A sublime object of ideology. That cock in the mind, you see, that is a sublime object of ideology, or the caste that is within us, that is a sublime object of ideology. Like that, today, in the global capitalist system all over the world, development has become a master signifier and an object of ideology. Any ruler can do anything unjust or destructive of nature in the name of development. The word development justifies all actions of atrocities of the rulers against humans and nature. That is a very serious situation today. Development itself has become a dangerous ideological thing. So let me conclude. What is the Indian communism to do? What is to be done? Break with crude economism. Address the issues of caste, religion, gender, and nationalism. They shape subjectivity. That's the important. That we have to understand, you see. This gender, these things shape our subjectivity, which is very important in Marxism. Then recognize caste as the major part of the hidden real in Indian society. Then political praxis must interrupt its ideology. Make the outcasts have their desire and imagination. That, the outcasts, are denied any place in the symbolic order. They are almost losing they have no desire, after all, remember, desire is the driving force. We must act among them and make them recover their desire, to let the excluded speak, to let the the outside people, and to remain faithful to that eruption, whatever the cost. This is, I conclude, Marxism has to rethink and reconstruct, then only it can be relevant today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian Vattamattam. Thank you for that very broad brush treatment in 1 hour. Covering almost you're giving us the tools to understand this lecture, the tools of symbolic order, and the social real, which kind of forms the heart of the discussion today by Marx Forum. I'll see the developments from what you call European post-structuralist understanding, which Marx was denied. So what I think he is trying to present was to fill those gaps in Marxism, which they have refused to do, and Marxism or Marx, to be more exactly, or what Sebastian Vattamattam would say, from Marx, it was reduced to Marxism. And in the absence of an enrichment, which Tapan thinks that Lacan and the post-structuralists have provided. And it is for us to build up a critique of global capitalism and a praxis against it on the basis of the enriched understanding that Lacan and Zizek especially have provided. And thank you so much, Vattamattam. I hope some of our friends will be having questions to ask. So please go ahead and raise your questions or make a brief comment. Thank you.